Euclid, often called the father of geometry, was a Greek mathematician whose most influential work, the Elements, organized the mathematical knowledge of his time into a systematic whole. Rather than inventing geometry, he refined it, presenting it with unmatched clarity and logical rigor. At the heart of Euclid's method is the axiomatic system, starting from a few basic definitions and common notions, axioms and postulates. He derived a vast body of mathematical theorems. His famous fifth postulate, the parallel postulate, would later inspire deep debates about the structure of space and the eventual development of non-Euclidean geometry. Euclid's influence extends far beyond mathematics. His approach shaped how logic, science, and philosophy came to understand proof and the structure of knowledge. The Elements remained a core educational text for over 2,000 years, setting the standard for deductive reasoning and demonstrating the power of orderly, rational thought. Cicero was a Roman statesman and philosopher who sought to bring Greek philosophy, especially Stoicism, academic skepticism, Platonism, and Aristotelianism, into a Roman context. He wrote in accessible Latin, making philosophy a civic endeavor. He emphasized the role of reason in ethical life, the value of natural law, and the duties of citizenship. For Cicero, virtue and the common good were central to a well-ordered society, and true wisdom lay in aligning human law with universal moral principles. Cicero's political philosophy, especially his defense of republican values and oratory, influenced Enlightenment thinkers and many framers of modern constitutions. His blend of moral idealism and practical wisdom helped define the intellectual heritage of the West. Lucretius was a Roman poet and philosopher who championed Epicureanism in his great poem On the Nature of Things. He presented a materialist view of the world, grounded in atomism. For Lucretius, all things are composed of atoms and void. The gods exist but are indifferent to human affairs. The soul is mortal, and death is the end of consciousness. His goal was to free humans from the fear of death and superstition through rational understanding. He believed that living wisely meant pursuing modest pleasure, friendship, tranquility, and freedom from irrational fears. His poetic voice gave Epicurean ideas emotional and philosophical power, influencing later materialists and skeptics alike. Philo of Alexandria was a Hellenistic Jewish philosopher who sought to harmonize Greek philosophy, especially Platonism and Stoicism, with Jewish theology. He interpreted the Hebrew Bible using allegorical techniques inspired by Greek thought. Philo saw God as utterly transcendent, accessible not through sense or language, but through reason and divine illumination. He introduced the Logos as a divine intermediary, a concept blending Stoic rationality, Platonic forms, and biblical revelation. Philo's synthesis of revelation and reason deeply influenced early Christian theology and medieval philosophy. He laid groundwork for ideas about divine order, the Logos, metaphysics, and the rational structure of creation that would echo through centuries. Seneca the Younger was a Roman Stoic philosopher, playwright, and statesman who emphasized virtue, inner freedom, ethical clarity, and self-mastery. He explored philosophy as a guide for personal and political survival and flourishing. He taught that virtue is the only true good, and that external factors like wealth, power, fame, and even health should not disturb the wise. Through self-examination, discipline, and acceptance of nature's order, one could achieve serenity even amid hardship. Seneca's style was vivid and practical, blending Stoic principles with rhetorical flair. His influence endured through the Renaissance and Enlightenment, shaping ideas of dignity, resilience, moral responsibility, and the good life. Epictetus was a Greek-Roman Stoic philosopher. He was born into slavery but later became free. His teachings were recorded by one of his students. He emphasized that we should distinguish between what is in our control, our judgments, desires, actions, and what is not, such as wealth, power, status, or the actions of others. Peace comes from focusing only on what depends on us. For Epictetus, philosophy is not abstract theory but a daily discipline. True freedom lies in mastering one's inner life. Through constant self-examination, humility, and detachment, we can live with dignity and reason, even amid suffering or misfortune. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, is perhaps best known for his personal reflections compiled in Meditations. These notes reveal a mind striving for virtue, wisdom, and inner peace amid responsibility and hardship. Central to Marcus's thought is the Stoic idea that we cannot control external events, only our responses. He urges acceptance of nature's order, emphasizing rationality, duty, and the cultivation of inner strength. For him, virtue, living in harmony with reason and nature, is the highest good. Marcus also reflects on impermanence and death, reminding himself that life is brief and that fame and pleasure are fleeting. His writing blends personal humility with philosophical resolve, offering guidance on how to deal with difficult persons and difficult situations, and on finding tranquility within, and on virtue, and on the art of living a good life. Sextus Empiricus was a Greek-Roman physician, philosopher, and leading advocate of a kind of therapeutic skepticism, according to which we should suspend judgment to achieve mental tranquility. He argued that for every argument an equally convincing counter-argument can be given. Since certainty is unattainable, the wise response is to withhold assent and remain in a state of inquiry. This suspension of belief leads not to despair, but to peace, freeing us from dogmatism and distress, according to him. His radical skepticism, which is a challenge to the possibility of knowledge, deeply influenced many modern philosophers and later skeptics. Plotinus was a Greek-Roman thinker and a key figure in Neoplatonism, a kind of philosophy heavily influenced by Plato's ideas. His major work, compiled by one of his students, presents a hierarchical vision of reality. At the highest level is the One, pure, ineffable unity beyond being and thought. From it emanates the divine intellect, then the world soul, and finally the material world. All things long to return to the One. For the Neoplatonist thinker, philosophy is a spiritual ascent. By turning inward through contemplation and purification, the soul can transcend multiplicity and reunite with its divine source. His vision inspired later Christian, Islamic, and Renaissance thought. Proclus was a Greek Neoplatonist who systematized and expanded earlier Neoplatonists' ideas. As head of the Platonic Academy in Athens, he aimed to unify Platonist philosophy and Hellenic theology. He developed a detailed metaphysical structure. From the ineffable One emanate successive levels of reality, participated unities, intelligences, souls, each reflecting divine unity through a complex chain of causation. Everything also strives to return to its origin. For humans, the goal is to align the soul with the divine order and become one with the One or the Good. His works influenced medieval Christian and Islamic thought and mysticism, and helped preserve Greek philosophy during its transition into late antiquity